solve for x. Generally, for solve for x, we know is equations. There are two questions here, so let's do each one. 3x minus 6 is equal to 9. Okay, we need to make sure that we are left with only the x on one side, on the left hand side. So let's get rid of what we can. So the first thing we will do is get rid of the 6, the minus 6. Put it on the other side, it becomes plus 6. And then my answer will be 3x is equal to 15. Now we divide by whatever is in front of the x. Now remember, keep in mind, if there was a minus there, you also divide by the minus as well. So my answer will be x is equal to 5. A very simple example, but just so you understand the concepts. So if you get something a little more difficult, then you understand the concepts, how it works. Now, same principle applies here. So I'm going to write this question down to help you with teaching you. Right, x plus 4 plus 2 is equal to 5x plus 1. So it's 2 into x plus 4 plus 2 is equal to 5x plus 1. Okay, so the first thing we will do is remember distribution, because there is a number in front of a bracket. So let's distribute. So it will be 2x, right? We'll multiply by each item in the bracket, and it will be plus 8. This remains the same. The rest of the question remains the same. Okay, now what we need to do is bring the x's onto one side and the numbers on the other side. So we'll be left with 2x. If I bring this x onto this side, it will be minus 5x. And then let's work with the numbers. We have 1 minus 8 minus 2. So 2 minus 5 is minus 3x. If you don't know this, punch this in your calculator, it'll give you the answer. And then 1 minus 8 minus 2, yet again punch in the calculator if you're unsure, and it'll give you your answer. We'll have minus 10 minus 9. Right. So what we need to do is divide by whatever is in front of the x. So we divide by the minus 3, divide by minus 3, and I'll be left with x is equal to, remember it's two minuses and they're being divided, so my answer will be a plus, and the answer will be 3. And that's my final answer. Aisha is 3 years older than Mpo. Together their ages add up to 17 years old. How old is Aisha? So Mpo will be x, and Aisha will be 3 plus x. She's 3 years older than Mpo. Now it tells us here that when these ages are added up, right, they are equal to 17. So all we need to do is write down the expression. So it will be x plus 3x plus x is equal to 17. So this becomes an equation. So we left with 2x's on this side, so it's 2x is equal to 17 minus 3. So 2x is equal to 14, right? And get rid of the 2 in front. So x is equal to 7. Right, now remember that x is equal to 7. But who did we call x? We called Mpo x. Now remember, this is Mpo's age. So therefore Aisha is 7 plus 3 equals 10. Now let's add these two ages up together. 10 plus the 7 will give us 17, which is exactly what the question implies. Study the flow diagram and answer the questions that follow. Here we have the inputs and the outputs given to us, and it tells us determine the numerical values of the outputs, write the values in the table below. Now if you look at this here, this is more or less the values we use generally when we are drawing a graph. So the 0, 1, minus 1, minus 2 and 2. So it's leaning towards this type of question and practice for you. And in the center of the spider diagram, most of us know it as a spider diagram, we find 2x plus 3. Now remember, that becomes our expression that we're going to be working with. So let's write down the values when we substitute. Now when you substitute, I'll do the first one. Right, in order to work out a, right, this a part here, in order for us to work out this, right, we need to substitute. So we take whatever the expression is, 2x plus 3. Our input for the value of x is minus 2 plus 3, right, and we multiply through, we'll get minus 4 plus 3, and my answer will be minus 1. So for minus 2 we have minus 1. The next substitution will be 2x plus 3, right, we're putting the minus 1 in there, plus the 3, and we should get an amount of minus 2 plus 3, and we'll get an amount of 1. So that becomes 1. Then we will put the 0. 2x plus 3, 2 into 0 plus 3, and that should give us 0 plus 3, and we get an answer of 3. Right, and then we come lastly, we get 2x plus 3, 2 into 1 plus 3, and that will give us 2 plus 3, and we get an answer of 5. Now you also know that you can use a calculator in working this expression quickly, but you can ask your educators to explain to you this. But just to give you an idea how this works out, we look at this. I will, however, do another program on calculator techniques and see how we can get these answers faster through the calculator. But just for you to understand the concept and how we are doing this, then we can approach a question like this. Thereafter, it tells us draw the graph using the table in 4.3.1 above. Okay, now we'll have to use this graph in plotting those points on the table that we just worked out. So just a reminder, let me just write down these points to remind you what we used. Okay, in the previous slide we used the minus 2, the minus 1, we worked out 0, and we worked out 1, and the amounts we got was minus 1, 1, 3 and 5. Now we're going to plot this. Let's look at minus 2 as our x value and minus 1, so it would be that, right? Then we get 1 minus 1 and 1, it would be that. Then we get 0 and 3 would be that, and we get 1 and 5. There's 4 here, and this should be 5. Now we need to join this line. I'll try my best to join it without okay, that's more or less the closest I could get there without a ruler. Extend the line, right, to make sure that you have your 2 arrows at the end, and that would be your graph that you would draw. So basically what the examiner did here was use 2 sections to give you a particular question where you worked with spider diagrams and you're allowed to draw a graph at the same time. Calculate the value of x, y and z in the diagram below. Provide reasons for your answers. Now remember, this is geometry and you have to provide reasons. Now by looking at this, you don't necessarily have to go in order, like for instance alphabetical order, x, y, z. You can go with whatever you find best to work with in order for you to get your answers as quick as possible. For instance, if for instance you see that there is a parallel line there and you know that you're dealing with corresponding angles, you're dealing with alternate angles, you're dealing with co-interior angles, you also in this particular instance know but vertically opposite is also used, and straight lines. So by looking at this, a learner may say, okay, y is equal to 40. Reason why I'm saying this is alternate angles, right? And they haven't indicated the letters for the parallel lines, but generally we normally write the letters whichever lines are parallel. Okay, alternate angles, angles, right? Alternate angles. So I put the 40 in to show that I may use that amount for another question, or should I say answer. The next one we would use is, we could use the x to say there's a straight line there. X is 180 degrees minus the 60 plus the 40. Now this is a straight line, so we say adjacent supplementary angles, right? So it's 180 minus 100, right? And that will give me 80, right? And lastly we get Z. Angle Z is well, we use angles of a triangle, or we could use, we can say, is equal to X, which is equal to 80, right? That will be corresponding angles. Alright, we can clearly see that this is equal to that, corresponding angles. Or you could have used angles of a triangle, and you see that 40, 60 and 80 will give you 180 degrees. So you could have used either one depending on how you saw the question. Now notice I didn't answer in alphabetical order because just to teach you that you don't have to go answer your question alphabetically.